Mockery, media attacks, and a shocking diagnosis. Carole and Michael Middleton's story proves that life isn't always easy when you've hit the royal jackpot. In the tabloids, Carole and Michael Middleton are often portrayed as a typical middle-class couple. The reality is, though, that Princess Catherine lived a pretty lavish life before marrying Prince William. Her parents sent her to pricey boarding schools and housed her in a £1.5 million home. Carole and Michael could afford a comfortable lifestyle after launching their party decoration business in 1987, but they also sat on a comfortable family inheritance. But this inheritance had a dark side. The Middletons were able to found their company and fund their children's education because of a trust fund that had been set up generations before. Apparently, Catherine's great-great-grandfather Francis Lupton came into a £1 million fortune that he'd expected to split among his 5 children. During World War I, however, all 3 of Frank's sons were killed. Only his 2 daughters, Olive and Anne Lupton, survived to inherit the money. Their share was worth over £2 million in today's currency. Anne Lupton never married, meaning that what was left of her fortune was also passed on to Olive's children, including Catherine's grandfather. Although this money was eventually able to benefit the Middleton children, its roots are profoundly tragic. In many ways, Carole and Michael Middleton benefited from an old money fortune. However, this did not prevent Prince William's friends from mocking them for their lower social standing. Unlike many members of the British upper crust, Carole and Michael had neither titles nor a historic family home. In fact, Carole Middleton was famously descended from James Harrison, a coal miner based in northern England. When the prince started dating the future Princess Catherine, his circle was quite ruthless in their treatment of his middle-class girlfriend. Many of his friends were particularly snobbish about the fact that Catherine's mother had previously worked as a flight attendant. Royal expert Katie Nicholl explained on Vanity Fair's Dynasty podcast that when Kate would go clubbing with William in London, they'd all whisper "doors to manual" to each other.
Well, obviously that is a bit of a put down. It's a bit of a derogatory reference to Carole's career as an air hostess.
Prince William's posh friends weren't the only people who disparaged the Middletons for their middle-class background. The British press was arguably no better. During William and Princess Catherine's courtship, many commentators argued that Carole and Michael Middleton were not classy enough to be the parents of a future Queen consort. One piece in the Daily Mail even quoted a courtier who said, "Put bluntly, the Queen seems to like Kate's father, Michael, but the courtiers sense that there are big question marks over the mother. She is pushy, rather twee, and incredibly middle class." Following William and Catherine's temporary breakup in 2007, royal commentator James Whittaker described the match as a mistake in an article for The Mirror. His justification? Carole and Michael were not from a good enough family to produce a future queen. He wrote, "Kate, delightful as she might be, was not from suitable stock to be our future queen. I just believe that evolving from a middle-class background is hardly the best training to becoming Her Majesty." As if all the bad press was not humiliating enough, the Middletons were portrayed quite negatively on Netflix's The Crown. The series dedicated much of its 6th season to Prince William and Princess Catherine's relationship. Carole Middleton's character made several appearances, as played by Eve Best. Unfortunately, her portrayal was not particularly flattering. Throughout season 6, Carole Middleton's character seems very invested in climbing the social ladder. In one scene, she tells a young Catherine how excited she was when she met her future husband, as his grandmother had known the Queen's aunt.
I felt like the luckiest woman in the world.
Unfortunately, this depiction of Carole as a pushy, status-obsessed mother is not necessarily faithful to reality. The Crown, after all, is fiction, even if some people believe everything they see on the show. In 2020, Princess Diana's brother Charles Spencer said, "I find Americans tell me they have watched The Crown as if they have taken a history lesson. Well, they haven't." Perhaps the most shocking invasion of Carole Middleton's privacy was carried out by the British tabloids. The mother of 3 has suffered considerably at the hands of the media. She has been stalked by the paparazzi, mocked by tabloid journalists, and even hacked by a major media organisation. In 2014, the Daily Mail reported that the News of the World had hacked Carole's phone as part of an attempt to gain insight into the lives of British royals. Carole was far from the only victim of this strategy too. Tabloid journalists hacked Princess Catherine's phone 155 times, while Prince William was hacked 35 times. Although it's unclear whether any of the contents of Carole's phone were used to inform News of the World articles, the fallout of the hacking scandal led to the outing of private and sensitive information, much of which revolved around the Middletons and their daughter. Carole and Michael Middleton have always been huge fans of the Christmas holiday. As the former owners of a party business, they revelled in decorating their home. Some years, they've even been known to purchase multiple Christmas trees. Writing on her Party Pieces Instagram in 2021, Carole shared, "Once again this year we plan to have 2 Christmas trees, one for the children to decorate and one which I do myself." Despite the Middletons' enthusiasm for the holiday season, they haven't always been invited to spend Christmas with their grandchildren. As mandated by royal protocol, Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis have historically spent Christmas at Sandringham with their late great-grandmother Queen Elizabeth II. Unfortunately, Carole and Michael were rarely included in the festivities at Sandringham, although they have been invited to join the royals at St Mary Magdalene Church for Christmas morning service. This goes to show just how much the Middletons have had to sacrifice in order to see their daughter take the crown. The Middletons' Party Pieces business was successful for years.
And it was a very clever idea. It filled a gap. This is a very affluent area, and there were lots of children, lots of people in the area that just wanted that service.
But things went downhill when the company started operating at a loss, accruing hundreds of thousands of pounds in debt. The trouble reportedly began back in 2019 when Carole decided to step away from her company's day-to-day operations. She reportedly placed control of the business into the hands of a management team that did not necessarily act responsibly. Before long, Party Pieces began to accrue debt, and as the pandemic set in, the enterprise accepted a £219,000 COVID-19 loan from the Royal Bank of Scotland. This, in turn, caused something of a scandal, as the money offered by RBS had been funded by British taxpayers. One source close to the situation told The Standard, "It definitely doesn't reflect well on the royals, but Kate will mostly just be worried about her mother, as the two have always been incredibly close. Carole will be working hard to put this right." Despite the Middletons' effort to rectify the situation with their failing company, Party Pieces officially went out of business during the summer of 2023. According to a report in the Daily Mail, by the time the company had officially failed, its debts had totaled a staggering £2.6 million. For Carole Middleton in particular, this was devastating. A friend told the outlet, "Carole is understandably upset and deeply disappointed in this situation." Although Carole largely blamed outside managers for the failure of her company, she had to admit that it was her responsibility for having hired them in the first place. As the same friend told the Daily Mail, Carole believes in accountability and accepts she had been a little naive to step back and trust someone else to run the business she had spent decades nurturing, and it's been desperately sad to see the company sold off in this way. In the end, Carole and Michael were forced to sell their business. After searching for the right buyer, Carole decided to sign a deal with the Teddy-tastic Bear Company. Moreover, it was reported that the 12 employees who worked for Party Pieces were able to remain in their current positions. Carole and Michael, however, will be out of the business for good. Only the 2 eldest Middleton children have achieved any notable amount of fame. Princess Catherine is, of course, the Princess of Wales, while her younger sister, Pippa, was once ranked Britain's most desirable single by Tatler.
What is it about Pippa Middleton that we just can't get over?
The 3rd Middleton child, James, has largely avoided the limelight, and he has also struggled considerably over the years. Writing for the Daily Mail in 2019, James described his battle with depression. He said, "I know I'm richly blessed and live a privileged life, but it did not make me immune to depression. It is an illness, a cancer of the mind." For Carole and Michael Middleton, it would have been difficult to watch their son endure this mental illness. During the height of his struggles, James admitted he ignored his parents' messages of love and support. He revealed, "I couldn't communicate, even with those I loved best, my family and close friends. Their anxious texts grew more insistent by the day, yet they went unanswered as I sank progressively deeper into a morass of despair." Luckily, Carole and Michael's youngest child was eventually able to seek psychological support. He said, "I knew if I accepted help, there would be hope. It was a tiny spark of light in the darkness." Less than a year after being forced to sell their company, Carole and Michael Middleton received the news no parent wants to hear. Their daughter, Princess Catherine, had been diagnosed with cancer. According to royal expert Jenny Bond, this diagnosis likely proved quite painful for the Middleton family. Speaking to The Mirror, Bond explained, "We should also spare a thought for another mother in this, Carole Middleton. Catherine may be 42, but she is still Carole's little girl, and to watch her go through this and withstand the bullying pressure to explain must have been desperately upsetting." In the weeks following Catherine's diagnosis, Carole appeared to take on a greater role in her daughter's life, driving her around London and helping her take care of the kids. She's even made an effort to spend time with Prince William after he and Carole were spotted having a drink together in a pub. One palace insider told People magazine, "Her parents are an enduring factor in the upbringing of their grandchildren, and they will be a reassuring presence when she goes back to Windsor to recuperate."